A really disgusting thing that the Supreme Court did. The Supreme Court matters, but is the answer to remove the conservative majority, or is the answer to weaken this institution? Supreme Court says chocolate companies cannot be sued over child slavery on African cocoa farms. And this Nestle and these other corporations were defended by Neal Katyal, who was an Obama staffer. But also the liberal justices voted. All liberal justices voted in the favor of Nestle. The Supreme Court on Thursday said U.S. chocolate companies cannot be sued for child slavery on the African farms from which they buy most of their cocoa. But the court stopped short of saying such a lawsuit could never go forward. Oh, how nice of you, Supreme Court. But the court stopped short. The court's splintered decision was written by Justice Clarence Thomas, Justice Samuel A. Alito Jr. dissenting from the decision, saying it was premature to dismiss the suit. 6 African men were seeking damages from Nestle USA in Cargill, alleging that as children they were trafficked out of Mali, forced to work long hours on Ivorian cocoa farms, and kept at night in locked shacks. The attorneys argue that the company should have better monitored their cocoa suppliers in West Africa, where about 2/3 of the world's cocoa is grown and child labor is widespread. At issue was whether the Malians have the right to sue the companies in U.S. courts, and more broadly, under what circumstances foreigners may sue U.S. firms for wrongs committed in their supply chains overseas. So in the United States, we have, Joe Biden signs in Juneteenth as a federal holiday to recognize emancipation, and the Supreme Court says slavery, it's fudgeable. Actually, these guys who are suing were literally scooped up from a country, taken to another, a lot like not exactly the same, but a lot like the transatlantic slave trade, and enslaved, worked as child slaves. This is insane. The plaintiff sued under the Alien Tort Statute, a 1789 law that allows federal district courts to hear, quote, any civil action by an alien for a tort only committed in violation of the law of nations or a treaty of the United States. Interesting. The court had previously rejected such lawsuits. Quote, Nestle... See, this is what the company is saying. Nestle never engaged in the egregious child labor alleged in this suit. The company said in a statement, we remain unwavering in our dedication to combating child labor in the cocoa industry. We remain unwavering in our dedication. Yeah. Attorneys for the Malians, meanwhile, argued that the mistreatment of the Malians stems from decisions by company officials in the United States, and therefore, U.S. courts should handle the matter. While Nestle and other chocolate companies do not generally own the farms from which they obtain cocoa, the firms often provide training and other support to them. Quote, we believe they control the system of child forced labor in the Ivory Coast from the United States, said Paul Hoffman, an attorney from the Malians. In its decision Thursday, the Supreme Court sided with the companies on that critical issue. Quote, nearly all the conduct they say aided and abetted forced labor, providing training, fertilizer, tools, and cash to oversee farms, occurred in Ivory Coast, Thomas wrote in the majority opinion. So the liberal justices voted in favor of Nestle, saying they can't be held accountable. They didn't do it. A Democratic Party, this guy's one of the most outspoken against Trump. He's decrying that the Trump administration was, what's the word I'm looking for, spying on, House Democrats. He was just on cable news talking about that. It's Neal Katyal, former Obama staffer, was the lawyer that, this big-time constitutional lawyer who was corporate lawyer, defending Nestle and Cargill. This is a opinion piece from December in the New Republic. Neal Katyal on the depravity of big law, the Democratic lawyer's sickening defense of corporate immunity in a Supreme Court case reveals a growing moral rot in the legal community. This is interesting. The United States has a political class that mistakes its professional norms for ethics. Mainstream political journalists mindlessly grant anonymity to professional liars. Elected officials put collegiality and institutional procedure over the needs and interests of their constituents. And as for lawyers, they have refined this tendency in what amounts to a religion of self-justification. The Sixth Amendment to the Constitution establishes that every American has the right to the assistance of counsel if they are prosecuted for a crime. So this is what people like Katyal point to. They say everybody deserves a lawyer, but we're talking about a corporation. And it's funny how they say everybody, including a company, here it is, everyone has a right to counsel, and every lawyer has a right to earn a buck, right? This is a good pull quote here. Corporations will always receive the best legal counsel, not because they deserve it, but because they can't afford it. Katyal is among the most prominent and decorated attorneys in the country. He is a Democrat who has been in and out of government since Bill Clinton's second term. He returned to his private firm, Hogan Lovells, after serving as acting Solicitor General for Barack Obama's Justice Department. He is omnipresent on television and newspaper op-ed pages as a voice of the resistance to Donald Trump. He is about as close as you could come to the embodiment of Big Law's connection to the institutional Democratic Party. So it's interesting. He will say, "Oh, yeah, this guy has, this corporation has the legal right to an attorney like any individual." But then in court, when he's arguing that Nestle can't be held accountable for child slavery, it's because they're not an individual. It's a company. They can't individually be held accountable. So this is just some of the doublespeak, crazy nonsense that you're going to see, from Democrats, from liberal Supreme Court justices. There's, when I heard today Pascal Robert on the Majority Report talking about how the establishment Democrats are the left wing of capital, the capital class, the wealth class in the United States, things like this bear that out, okay? This is why we need an insurgency in the Democratic Party. I'll argue for that. I know a lot of people think it's not very likely or not very possible, but I think even if it's a failing effort, it's worth attempting, right?